Hello, Assalamu alaikum. In this video, I'm going to discuss the skull from different, views. In this particular video, I'm stressing upon the Norma Verticalis, or when we look at the skull from the top. But before going to the Norma, Verticalis, I would just give a general brief discussion about the skull. Skull actually is comprised of 28 different independent bones which join together to form a skull. And these different bones, 28 bones, these bones are paired bones and unpaired bones, and I will keep discussing the which ones are the paired bones and which are ones are the unpaired bones within the same video. So going to Norma Verticalis, it means that when you look at the skull from the top or top view. So in here you can see that when you look at the skull from the top view, here you can see different. This is frontal bone. This is the frontal bone, vertical plate of the frontal bone, a vertical plate of the frontal bone, and these two are the parietal bones. Parietal bones. These two are the parietal bones, and this here at the back or top or upper part of the occipital bone is seen as well. So again, from top view you can see frontal bone, which is convex or smooth in its upper part, then right parietal bone, left parietal bone, then occipital bone. So again you can see this frontal bone is 1 in number, and then two parietal bones, these are 2 in number, and occipital bone is again unpaired or single bone. So here you can see one right parietal bone with the left parietal bone. Here you can see there is a suture. This suture is actually a denticulate variety of suture, and this suture is also called sagittal suture or interparietal suture. It means suture between the two parietal bones, and this is the suture. Here you can sagittal suture or interparietal suture and denticulate variety. So again, here you can see frontal bone is forming suture along with two parietal bones as well. Now this suture is actually coronal suture. Here you can see the coronal suture. So coronal suture actually, it's look at from the side view, it is moving downward and anteriorly, and it starts from one side of the skull to exactly to the opposite side. So actually these coronal suture, it is here, this is the particular point which is called bragma. This bragma is a point where coronal suture is actually meeting the sagittal suture. This coronal suture is actually meeting the sagittal suture. This point is called bragma. Just behind the bragma, if we see from the lateral side here, this uppermost or topmost part of the skull is called vertex, which is almost just behind the bragma. Vertex is separate point and bragma is separate point. Bragma is a point where sagittal suture is meeting the coronal suture, whereas vertex is actually the highest most part of the skull, which can be easily seen from the lateral view. So that's why I am showing you a lateral view. So again, if here you can see frontal bone, which is single in number, parietal bone, which are 2 in number, two parietal bone, these are they actually form a interparietal or denticulate variety of a suture, and it is also called sagittal suture. And here this is the coronal suture. Coronal suture is present between the this coronal suture is actually present between the frontal bone and two parietal bones. It starts from one end to the other end, and the point where two frontal coronal suture meets the sagittal suture is called bregma. On the same on the top view, you can see the upper part of the occipital bone. So occipital bone is also seen. See, and this actually this whole of the top view, you can see the head is narrow at the anterior aspect, where it is broad at the posterior aspect. So again, look at the top view or Norma Verticalis. Frontal bone, vertical plate, single in number, right parietal, left parietal, coronal suture, coronal, this one is the um, sagittal suture, and then coronal suture, bregma, and vertex. And here is the uppermost part of the occipital bone. So in my next video, I would be discussing the Norma occipitalis. Thank you very much.